Hey, how's it going, friends? I can't believe it's October already. Oh my god. Leaves are changing, weather's getting cold, it's fursuiting weather out there. Oh yeah. And just in time for Halloween, Con Horror Stories Volume 2. Was that spooky enough? I don't know if that was spooky enough. These are some pretty crazy, wild, freaky, strange stories this time around. A lot of them are just, like, what? So I had a few of my friends and myself and my husband all sit down and record some of their favorite strange con memories. Now, it's worth putting out here that some of these are kind of like, hey, this is behavior that you shouldn't be doing at a convention. Ever. So use these as learning moments too. So if you're out there watching this, don't do this at a furry con. Don't do this to fursuiters, and don't do this to friends. I mean, this is just stuff that I mean, come on, guys. This is common sense here. This is common sense, okay? So yeah, like just take this all in and kind of enjoy it. Enjoy it. Keep in mind that these stories are for entertainment purposes. I have changed the names of the individuals as to not tarnish their good names or throw them under the bus or, I don't know, anything like that. I mean, this is just, hey, fun memories, wild memories, crazy memories, con horror stories. Let's jump on in.
So tell me, do you know the story of the Aquatifur Bagel? This has been a story that we've been telling at Con Horror Stories for a couple years now, and this is the first time I'm actually talking about it on YouTube. I was guest of honor at Aquatifur 2018. Y'all probably heard people calling me Bagel at some point. Maybe it's a nickname because I worked at a bread shop, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be funny with this. I'm gonna take a bagel and I'm gonna stick it on the door of my friend's hotel room because that is my sense of humor. So I was out of suit at the time. I took a bagel. There's so much to this story. Oh. This story usually requires like 3 or 4 people telling it because there's a lot of different angles. So I have a bagel and then I hang it on the doorknob of my friends who will call me Bagel. I hang on their doorknob, and then across from the room is one of the staff rooms. I went over there. I'm like, yo, can I hide in your room for a prank? And they're like, sure, okay, whatever. They had no idea what's going on, so I kind of ding dong ditch the other room. I knock on the door and then I hide across the room, and I look through the peephole so I can see the bagel door. There's just a bagel hanging on the door. The guy opens the door and it's the wrong room. It's like some guy I'd never met. I'm like, oh snap. So I just kind of just hide there, and they're looking around. They're like, going on? Why is there a bagel on the door? And they're upsetty. They go back in, they leave the bagel on the door. I wait a couple of seconds. I'm like, all right, coast is clear. I'm gonna go grab that bagel and I'm gonna find the right room. So I come out, I'm taking the bagel off the door. The guy is in there watching me. He was waiting for me. And he just pulls up the door, and then I freak out, and he was like, yo, what are you doing? I take off running down the hallway because I'm freaked out. I'm like, oh, this guy's mad. And I'm just like, oh, it's just a prank, bro. It's the wrong room. And he was chasing me down the hallway. And remember, this is a con where I'm a guest of honor and I'm a staff member. And I was like, oh, this looks bad. So I escape into the lobby, into the con center. And I'm like, oh my god, am I gonna be in trouble now? Because they saw me and then they're gonna report me or something. So I go over, I find my boss at the con. I'm like, yo, so I'm kind of pissed off an attendee, And they're like, oh, what'd you do? I'm like, I put a bagel on his door. And they're just like, what? And they all start laughing at me. I'm like, okay. And I still feel really bad about it because that guy was pissed. Meanwhile, while I'm in the lobby sorting the stuff out, back upstairs, the guy who I pissed off had seen me come out of the staff room. So he goes and he knocks on the staff room door. And he's arguing with the staffers. He's like, yo, what's going on? Why this guy come over here, put a bagel on my door, And then the staffer had no idea what was going on because they weren't even involved. I was just hiding in the room. And they're like, they just start arguing. They're like, stop you. Oh, you're being rude. No, you're being rude. And I'm like, I don't know what happened, but something happened. And there was a fight apparently over a bagel that I had left on the wrong door. back in the lobby, I'm sitting here. I'm just like panicking over this guy being mad at me because he saw my face and everything, and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna lose my job at the con. Everyone's gonna shame me because I'm guest of honor. I'm supposed to be an example, and I'm like so upset. I find my friend Kaiser. I just go up to him. I start crying on his shoulder, and he's like, "What's up?" And I'm like, "I put a bagel on someone's door. He chased me out of the hall. He was so mad, and I'm gonna get fired from the con." And he was like, "What?" And I was just sobbing on his shoulder. And then just like a couple minutes later, the bagel guy, he's down in the con space, and I'm in fursuit, and I put on my fursuit to disguise myself. So I don't know if he recognized me or not, but I was in my fursuit, and I just see this bagel guy just like, he's in the con space. Yeah, I'm like, oh shit, he's scouring for me. He's looking for me. I'm just like, with Kaiser, I'm just like, I that's him. That's the guy. Should I go apologize to him or what? And he's like, Kaiser's like, let me handle this. I work in customer relations, so I got this. So he goes and talks to the guy, and then Kaiser calls me over. He's like, yo, so this was the guy. He looks at me. He's like, this is the guy who put the bagel on your door. I'm like, oh fuck. I'm sorry, man. And I start crying. I'm like pouring tears now. The dude looks at me, and I got a badge that says guest of honor. And he's like, bro, what are you doing? You're a guest of honor at this con. You're putting bagels on people's doors? And I'm like, yep. And I was like, I'm so sorry, but I was like crying and stuff. So the bagel guy told me about the fight he got in with the staffer. And he was like, honestly, I'm not mad at you about the bagel. I'm mad at the staffer for arguing with me. So I'm going to report that staffer to the con op. I'm like, no, don't report anyone. Because I thought I was going to get someone fired over my prank. So I'm like, do not report it. It was my fault. I was freaking out, so I run over to I was like trying to find like the con chair or someone I could just like confess all my sins about the bagel, take the fall over the bagel. I'm just like sitting here like crying my eyes out, and then Kaiser's like, all right, we need to get you to a room. So he like takes me to his room, but his key card was broken, so we couldn't get into his room. So we ended up going back to the staffer room, where like the con chair and like the vice chair, like all the important people were apparently staying. So I'm just like crying in the bedroom, and then Kaiser has to go get the con chair and be like, yo, so Beagle's crying in the bedroom right now about something. So next thing I know, like the head of security guy, Bryant Fox, he is coming into the room, and he is shirtless, and I think he is probably drunk. And I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna get my ass beat right here. And he was like, Beagle, take your head off. And he grabs my head, and I just start screaming like I'm totally terrified. And he just pulls my head off, and I'm like ugly cry face, scared, terrified. And he just hugs me, and he's like, Beagle, what's wrong? Why are you crying? And I'm like, I put a bagel on that guy's door across the hall, and he chased me. He was mad, and he got in a fight with the staff in this room, and he said he was gonna get them fired. But I was like, no, it's my fault, so don't fire them, fire me, just me, it was my fault. And then like the con chair and everyone was just like, what? Everyone was just so confused. They're like, dude, it's a bagel. Everyone had to like help cheer me up, and it was just like, sensitive. It was a sensitive topic. It was a bagel.
This next story is something that none of you should ever, never in a million years do. And that is steal somebody's fursuit. I cannot say this enough. You know, fursuits are very personal items. They are items that you should not be taking without somebody else's permission. And this story is about exactly that. My husband Chip had just got his V1 fursuit, and we were going to FC that year, and oh my god, we were just so excited. He was gonna get a chance to suit around and be a cute little fox, and we were just like super jazzed about this. We get there, and you know, like we have roommates again, you know, like again, people you meet on the internet. Don't trust people on the internet. Ain't that the truth? Yeah, so like we get there, we meet our roommates, and you know, like Chip goes out in suits. We suit like the whole freaking day. I'm taking photos. It's a blast. But Chip's getting tired, so we decide, hey, it's time for dinner. Let's go grab some dinner. He goes up to the room, de-suits, and we end up going out and grabbing some, you know, like fantastic sushi, as you can find in San Jose. But when we get back to the room, his fursuit is nowhere to be found. Like, we are looking all over for this thing. We checked the door, you know, like the maids hadn't come in, the beds were still messy. There was a do not disturb sign on the door handle. I mean, we're like, where did this thing go? You know, fursuits just don't get up and walk away. And we're getting to the point where we're literally about ready to call con security and call the front desk to, like have them check the security cameras and see what happens to this fursuit, when our roommate walks in wearing Chip's fursuit head. We're both like, what the fuck? Why would you take that? And the guy's just like, oh, well, it was just sitting there. Nobody else was wearing it. So I was just like, might as well take it out on the convention floor. This is a furry problem. This is a furry problem right here. And, I cannot stress this enough. Again, do not take other people's fursuits. That's not okay. These are really personal items. And, if you take it, you need to apologize. You need to, make up for it. You don't just be like, oh, her, I thought it was just sitting there. I was just gonna wear it anyways and just have some fun. I mean, that's really, 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 really not okay. So we end up talking to the guy for a little bit, and he apologizes, and, things get worked out, and all's good. But that kind of left a really sour taste in my mouth as far as having roommates at conventions. I mean, let me just put it this way. Nowadays, we tend to avoid that. We don't tend to have roommates at cons anymore for that reason, because some of the experiences that I've shared here today, the people who just walk into your room, make a sandwich at 4 a.m., or the person that decides to take your fursuit without asking. That kind of stuff is just common sense things that for some reason elude furries on the most basic level.
My real only con convention horror story comes from Anthro Weekend, Utah 2018. I went there with 2 of my friends, and one of them didn't tell his parents that he was going to a con in a different state. So while we were at the convention, the police showed up. So the whole time that we were there, really, we were standing outside with the police talking to him. I'm just awkwardly standing in the background wearing 50 badges of a wolf and a German Shepherd. He's standing there talking to an officer with a talk shit get bit shirt. The officer wanted to get a picture of him in front of the convention center with a bunch of furries in the background to send to his extremely Christian mother to show that he was safe. After all of that unfolded, it was literally like a 3-hour process. We just ended up saying screw this con and we went to Dairy Queen. It was just very kind of awkward silence after that.
So, wine and fursuits do not mix, as I found out at Confuzzle 2018. Bitch, this story was fucking documented. Wait, am I allowed to swear? Shit. So, I was invited to a room party at Confuzzle by a friend of mine, Zazel, who happened to be a blue fox fursuiter. And apparently, at the same time, in the room next door, which was connected, there was a blue fox suit party going on as well at the same time. Basically, we're in the other room, we're having a good old daytime. I've got myself a bottle of wine, as I'm normally seen carrying around the convention space, which I still do to this day. But basically what happened was I lost the cap of the bottle. That was the mistake number 1, and that was the prelude to the horrors that would ensue. So we're getting drunker and drunker. The bottle is getting a little bit, emptier, but still there's wine in there. And next thing you know, the Pokemon theme tune starts blaring up in the room next door with all the fursuits inside. Me being drunk and very homosexual decides, this is my jam, I need to get up and dig to this jam. And yeah, that was mistake number 3. So I get my gay ass back into that room and I start singing and dancing. What happened next? Yeah, my wine accidentally spilled out of the bottle and onto the tail of one of the blue fox suits. That was fun. That was an experience.
This next story is about a stalker, a fursuit stalker. So this was at FWA, again, many years ago. I'm an old coyote. I've just been around. And we had this guy who had an affinity for both our suits. So much so that he tended to kind of follow us around the convention space. Now, this happens from time to time at cons. You'll get people, we affectionately call them Klingons, that kind of attach to you and they just follow you around, and it's just okay, whatever, furries. This guy took it to the next level. So this guy kept on following us around to the point where, like eventually we got out of suit and we realized that he had followed us back to our room. Now, of course, this is one of those really weird situations where you're just like, what do? Like you can tell the guy to go away, I suppose, but Chip and I took a creative approach. So we realized that the guy had never seen us without our heads off. And, like when people go around to different, like hotel rooms, most furries room together. So we were just like, aha, we have a plan. So Chip and I de-suit, and we ultimately end up leaving the room, and the guy's out there, and he's like, oh, is Chip and Ash in there? And we were just like, sure. And we kind of walked off, wandered off. And so the whole con, we basically were able to kind of avoid this guy out of suit by pretending to be other people.
Hello everyone, I'm Kona.
Hi guys, it's October.
And these are some con horror stories that we have. You go first.
We went to the SobbyCon one year, which is a local con near us. Before he had a suit, I had just gotten a suit from a really bad person. And, I went into this panel. There was a bunch of people just kind of chilling, I guess, doing this stupid little panel. And I walked in and went to go grab a lollipop off the table because they had a bunch of candy. And I immediately got jumped on by like 12 kids. They were grabbing on my head, they were grabbing on me, they were pulling on my suit, and he had to walk up and actually pull me out of it because they just would not let go of me. And that's why I actually don't like suiting around kids.
My experience was very similar. Actually, she was there with me as well. It was at a con called Amelia Con. It's in Jacksonville, Florida, like in the northern part. So basically the same thing happened. We just got bombarded by children at the park. The park was part of the con, but they were pulling on our tails and grabbing our ears and it was absolutely horrible.
We also got bullied.
At the same con.
We had to leave the con.
Yeah,
we got bullied that bad that we left.
Because she had her suit on, her old suit. It was bad. So yeah, that sucked. And that's our con horror story.
Alright, I think that about wraps up this episode. I hope you enjoyed the stories. There's some pretty wild ones out there. If you guys have a furry convention horror story that you'd like to share, hey, just drop it in the comment section below. I want to hear about it. I want to hear your wildest, craziest, weirdest story that you've had happen to you at a convention. Anyways, I hope you all have a fabulous day. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to help me and support me and my channel, please consider donating to my Patreon. Just $1 a month is worth more than all the ads here on my channel. I hope you all have a fabulous day. Goodbye!